All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Have you ever actually wondered what's physically keeping your car glued to the blacktop when you whip around a sharp turn? I mean, sometimes it feels like pure magic, or maybe just really good driving skills, but it's actually a relentless, high-stakes battle of invisible forces. Today, we're going to totally unpack the anatomy of a corner, dissecting the exact life-or-death physics that allow a speeding 2-ton hunk of metal to safely change direction in mere microseconds. Well, to understand turning, we actually have to start with going straight. Thanks to Newton's law of inertia, a massive vehicle hurtling down the highway naturally wants to just keep traveling in a perfectly straight line. Honestly, unless it's forced to do otherwise, it'll keep going straight, following a path as clean and precise as a single stroke on an engineering draft. Your car has mass, it has velocity, and its absolute default state is to just plunge straight ahead, indefinitely. So here's the crucial question. What invisible physical force swoops in to wrench that heavy machine off its straight inertial path and guide it safely around the bend? If the car desperately wants to go straight and the road suddenly curves to the left, something pretty profound has to happen at a physical level to stop you from just sliding straight off the asphalt, right? And the answer is centripetal force. Isaac Newton actually coined this term. It comes from the Latin centrum, meaning center, and petere, meaning to seek. So it literally translates to center seeking. It's a force that acts orthogonally, or at a strict right angle, to the car's motion. It's constantly yanking the vehicle off its straight line into a curved path, always seeking the inner center of the curve. Think of it like a giant, jumpy, hand-drawn neon blue arrow shooting out from the side of your car, constantly pulling it inward. Now, out in space, gravity provides the centripetal force that keeps a satellite in orbit. But down here on Earth, for our cars, that life-saving inward arrow is 100% generated by just one thing: the friction between your tires and the asphalt. If that friction gives out, the arrow vanishes, and inertia instantly takes over. The exact amount of force required to keep your car on the road comes down to this dramatic, yet totally elegant equation: F equals mv squared over r. Let's break that down real quick. F is that required centripetal force. M is the mass of your car, so the heavier the ride, the more force you need. V is your velocity, and R is the radius of the turn, meaning a tiny tight curve demands way more force than a wide sweeping highway bend. But here's the real kicker in this math. Look at that tiny little 2 exponent, the velocity squared. This means the relationship between your speed and the required grip isn't just a straight line, it's exponential. If you come into a curve and decide to double your entry speed, you don't just double the centripetal force you need. No, you quadruple it. It demands 4 times the turning force. That places an absolutely immense, sudden stress on your tires. So how exactly do the tires generate this massive centripetal arrow in the real world? Well, when you point the front wheels into a turn, the car doesn't instantly change direction. Instead, it creates what engineers call a slip angle. This is the angle between the wheel's actual path of travel and its physical plane of rotation. You steer one way, inertia pushes the other, and the rubber tread blocks are literally twisted and deflected, acting exactly like a tightly compressed spring storing up energy. And this brings us to the actual nitty-gritty physics of grip. That slip angle forces the viscoelastic rubber tread blocks to shear and laterally deform. As they get dragged across the asphalt, the rubber dynamically wraps around the road's microscopic rough spots. This relies heavily on a weird property called hysteria, which is basically rubber's natural delay in snapping back to its original shape after being squished. Because it doesn't bounce back instantly, it grips onto those tiny peaks and valleys in the road. And boom, right there, from that microscopic rubber deformation, our centripetal cornering force is born. You know what completely blows my mind here is the scale of all this. The physics of rolling and the physics of grip happen in entirely different universes of time. The main physical structure of a tire rolling down the highway operates at a fairly chill 15 hertz or 15 revolutions per second. But those molecular rubber grip mechanisms, that hysteresis wrapping around the asphalt, that vibrates and deforms at incredibly high frequencies, anywhere from 1,000 to 10 billion hertz. It's literally hidden chaos right there where the rubber meets the road. But, as you might guess, there's a hard limit to this magic. As that slip angle gets steeper, the force builds, but only up to a critical maximum. For your standard passenger car, that sweet spot usually peaks at roughly 4 to 7 degrees. Hit that angle, and you are generating the absolute maximum possible centripetal force. Turn the wheel past that, the rubber literally can't hold on anymore. Grip rapidly drops off, the tread blocks just start sliding and your steering essentially becomes useless. Plus, you have to carefully manage what engineers refer to as the grip circle. Think of it like a budget. Your tire only has a finite 100% capacity of friction available at any given millisecond. If you're spending 90% of that friction budget just to corner, you only have 10% left over for anything else. So if you panic and suddenly slam on the brakes mid-corner, the tires have to split their finite limit between stopping and turning. Asking a tire to brake hard and turn hard at the exact same time blows the budget and almost always causes you to slide right out. Let's bring all of this together and compare two scenarios. In a safe speed turn, the driver respects the math. Velocity is kept in check, so the required centripetal force easily fits within the tire's maximum friction limits. The slip angle stays totally stable. But in a high-speed grip failure, the driver doubles their speed, instantly demanding 4 times the force. Maybe they even brake mid-corner. They're asking for way more centripetal force than the rubber's molecular adhesion can actually provide. And the result? Those long, dark skid marks left behind on the asphalt. They're the ultimate visual signature of a vehicle losing its battle with physics. When the required turning force dramatically exceeds the tire's friction coefficient, the rubber's grip completely gives up the ghost. The car stops cornering and immediately starts sliding along its straight inertial path. This is what leads to severe understeer, oversteer, violent drifting, and, yeah, a terrifying loss of control. So if you take anything away from this explainer, let it be this. Turning is never a given. It is a constantly negotiated agreement. Successfully navigating a corner is a high-stakes, real-time negotiation between your car's brutal forward inertia and the microscopic friction limits of just 4 small patches of rubber, each one only about the size of your hand. So the next time you enter a tight curve at speed and you feel yourself getting pushed into the side of your seat, ask yourself, is your tire's grip truly enough to conjure up that centripetal force? Or are you just 1 mile per hour away from physics grabbing the wheel? Think about that invisible blue arrow keeping you on the road. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and definitely follow along for more deep dives into the wild physics of our everyday world.